All right, let's bring in our legal panel to react to Kilmeny's report. Florida businessman, lawyer, and GOP strategist Ford O'Connell. Also with us, distinguished professor of Touro University and author Thane Rosenbaum. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us.
Great to be here.
Thank you.
Thane, I'll start with you first. How likely do you see an impeachment inquiry coming from this congressional session?
Lydia, here's the thing that I'm always wondering. You know, impeachment inquiries are not the end of the world. They're called inquiries. They're not Senate removal trials. They're not even drafting of articles of impeachment. It's simply that there is a reason for this Congress to inquire more. Remember, Congress is in the investigative business. So that's the first issue. The second issue is what you hear often is, well, there's absolutely no evidence. No evidence. Well, that's not true. There's evidence. It's circumstantial evidence. There's evidence of influence peddling that Hunter Biden traded on his family name. His business partner acknowledged that the vice president would get on the speakerphone when he knew that his son was on the phone with business partners. We know that money was moved around to various accounts that had the last name Biden. Does that mean we have direct evidence that the vice president profited directly? No. Does it mean that he improperly abused his power? We don't know yet. But I think that that's why you have an inquiry. And the last thing I would say is that when they say there's no evidence of high crimes and misdemeanors, yeah, but if this is evidence of bribery, bribery is an impeachable offense. No one knows what high crimes and misdemeanors mean. We now know that. But everybody knows what bribery means.
Yeah, and Watergate wasn't even an impeachment inquiry. It was bringing out information. Let's take a look at this. According to new reports from Washington, the Biden White House has set up a war room with lawyers, legislative aides, communication staffers to put out an aggressive response to likely efforts by the Republicans against him, including what could be an impeachment inquiry committee. Ford, your thoughts on that? What does that tell us?
Well, that you wouldn't need to set up a war room. You can easily avoid this war if you actually release the documents in question. In this case, I think Thane's absolutely right. An impeachment inquiry is a necessary step because the Biden White House has been stonewalling the release of many key documents. And Congress has little choice but to move forward. And he's absolutely right. An impeachment inquiry is not an impeachment. It gives Congress expanded powers to go after necessary documents.
Thane, what do you say to people that continuously say there isn't enough concrete evidence? You know, there's only circumstantial evidence, but we have seen a lot of court cases where circumstantial evidence, the person is found guilty. And then also on the flip side, when we're talking about an actual impeachment, look what happened to Trump. He was impeached over a phone call.
Well, you know, my all-time favorite student, Bob Sellers, will tell you that oftentimes circumstantial evidence can be better than direct evidence, can actually be more convincing. Bob knows that.
Yeah, absolutely. You can be convicted of that, Professor. I mean, that's what we've established.
Of course. And here, I think circumstantial evidence is very compelling. But again, it goes to this idea of, you know, do you have to have forensic evidence, direct evidence to conduct an inquiry? Remember in the post-election lawsuits, they were all dismissed. And you heard people say, Democrats say, there's no evidence. There was plenty of evidence. They didn't conduct an evidentiary hearing. That's all that's being asked for here. An inquiry is essentially an evidentiary hearing to see what do we have and what else can we acquire to see whether we should bring this to a House floor vote.
Yeah, let's talk to politics. Ford O'Connell, somebody that is an actual lawyer and went to University of Virginia Law School. Ford, here's what I'm wondering. If you're in Congress and you want to run for office, you may not want to talk about Biden. You're running a local contest. You're running in your House district or you're running in your state. You may not even want to talk about Trump for that matter. And as long as we talk about Trump and Biden, people may not be talking about inflation on the local level, jobs that may be going away, an open border that may be affecting communities. Can you see where there might be resistance from some?
Yes, but I will also say that the media, including the Washington Post, actually concedes the fact that the Biden family has been running an influence peddling operation for years now that has taken home $20+ million. And the American Congress has an obligation to get to the bottom of it. And Thane's absolutely right. When you hear allegations of bribery, the question is very simple. We know the Biden family's been benefiting from this. The question is, did Joe Biden get direct benefits? And if he did, guess what? He's going to be tanked out in 2024.
Thane Rosenbaum, 30 seconds to you. Does this look, when the fact that they've created a war room now, does this look like Biden is afraid?
Yeah, remember, Lydia, White House counsel's office, are they in the business of defending the president on an impeachment inquiry, right? It's one thing to bring in a team of outsiders. It's another thing to mobilize the White House to say, we're going to defend the president. It may not be improper at this point, but it does suggest that we're going all full guns, right? We're bringing in outsiders. We're using insiders. We are so afraid of even the inquiry. And that's really a question, because last thing, Donald Trump didn't receive inquiries. Nancy Pelosi went right to the House vote in order to bring it before the Judiciary Committee. So Democrats don't want to admit that they didn't even give Donald Trump the benefit of the inquiry. They went straight to the House vote and to the Judicial Committee. And so that it suggests that there's obviously something they're worried about, that they don't think that the president could survive this.
But having said that, I think there's talk that McCarthy's worried he doesn't have the votes. We know that Nancy ran the House with a heavy hand, and she, whipped them into shape. Ford, your thoughts?
Bob, if the Republicans move forward with an impeachment inquiry, they're going to win in court. Remember, the Democrats won in court against Donald Trump over his financial records. They can and will win if they go forward with this. The only question is whether or not they have the backbone.
Okay. All right. Ford and Thane, thank you so much for joining us on this Labor Day. Thank you.